Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to MoLabs, where we bring the best AI tools to our global creator community. We use these sessions as a platform to invite teams to do live demos with us and have conversations about the ever-changing landscape of AI, like the team we're going to speak with today. This is all in hopes of arming our creator community with the best and greatest tools that's out there for their creative process. And today, we'd love to introduce our team, Descript. They're our special guest, and they'd like to describe themselves as an AI-powered, all-in-one audio and video editing tool that allows you to edit your content just like you would edit a Word document. That's pretty cool. It's pretty much a miracle, and we're going to dive in to learn more about that today. Before we get started, just want to introduce some of the folks that are on the phone. Let me just see here. Make sure I get everybody's names right. So myself, I'm Tatiana, executive producer, leading the North America MoFilm production team here. And we have Lee, global ECD, and Anisha, our director of ops, who will help facilitate the Q&A. And then, of course, we have the Descript team. We have Kevin, who's a product education manager, who will be actually walking us through the live demo. And then Mickey, our business development lead, who will be just facilitating the Q&A. A few housekeeping items before we get started. We are recording this, so this is going to be available for everybody on their social channels, on our social channels, and we'll take questions from the chat. So just put your questions directly in, and we'll get to it at the last 10 minutes. And with that, I will pass it over to the Descript team, and let's get started.
Thanks, Tatiana. We're going to jump right in, but yeah, thanks for having us. Mickey and I are happy to be here. Mickey will be in the chat if anybody has questions as we're going. So thank you so much, Mickey. We're going to scratch the surface only today of Descript. There's going to be a lot that we don't get to, depending on what you're making, how you're making it, how you're recording it, and what the final products are. All of those considerations, you might make some different choices or use different tools, but we're going to show you kind of the highlight reel of Descript, of bringing in media, importing, transcribing a video. Thank you to the MoFilm team for giving us a great video that we're going to use. And we'll do some editing, talk about some of the features that we like to use when working with this kind of content, and get it out of Descript so we can continue our workflow in whatever pro software we're using, Premiere, Final Cut. So let's jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. All right. When you open Descript, we'll see our drive view here, and we're going to start by creating a new project. Descript is a transcript-based editing tool, script-based editing tool. So like we said, it's as easy as editing a doc, meaning when we bring in some media, I'm going to drag and drop an MP4 from my computer here. Just drag it right in. It's going to transcribe for me. Start to import. We're going to get a nice looking transcript and a nice looking video, as well as a timeline, obviously all linked. So bringing in this is a video that has 2 speakers on camera, shotgun mic up top, and a producer yelling commands at certain times. So we're going to identify the speakers. Descript being an AI tool, there's a bunch of AI tools built in under the hood to help power your workflow. One of them is speaker detection. So what we can do is say we have 3 speakers in this video. It's going to detect those for us. And when we're ready, it's going to play 3 clips of this video. And we can identify who we're hearing and seeing as it goes.
I'm Brian Morris from Hattie B's Hot Chicken right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And today,
type Brian.
Yeah.
There's our producer, director, maybe.
Yeah,
You know?
that's so awesome. I didn't know none of it was frozen or anything
And
like that.
is
It
Madison.
impacts the flavors.
Just like that. So now, even though it's a single video, single MP4, we have all of these speakers labeled out when they're speaking. It's really nice. And we have our script that represents the words they are saying. And just like that. Cool. So the power of Descript is editing like a doc.
I'm Brian Morris from Hattie B's Hot Chicken right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And today we're joined by superfan Madison.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're going to have some.
By removing sections of the script, you can take out pieces of the video that you don't want or move things around, copy and paste. So a great example of that. If we made an editorial decision to take out superfan, we can just delete that from the script and it will delete the underlying audio and video.
And today we're joined by Madison.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're going to have some fun.
And you can make a lot of editorial decisions that way. Bring in video for B-roll, create zooms, punch-ins. But a lot of this kind of edit and assembly that teams like yourselves will be doing is putting your kind of rough cut together into Descript and exporting it out to Final Cut, Premiere, wherever you're going. So a lot of this is about making an easy editing decision easier, being collaborative while you're working. We're going to talk about inviting folks on your team and dropping comments and sharing and whatnot, and just making this early part of the experience faster, more collaborative, more enjoyable, so we can get to Premiere or wherever we're going a bit faster. So we're not going to be stuck in a timeline for hours and I'm making little adjustments to notes we're getting. Cool. I'm going to go through, do some more editing, just a couple minutes to show you what this looks like.
They're going to double each step from nothing all the way to shut the cluck up, liquid insanity, surface of the sun. And as we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about Hattie B's, a little bit about DoorDash, hopefully avoid some suffering with these pickles, and talk a little bit about Drive too.
I'm
so
excited.
We're going to start with Southern. Now, there's nothing to worry about here. In fact, for great Nashville hot chicken, you need two things.
Cool. I'm going to just pull some of this stuff out. First, I'm going to run a couple of our favorite features to make this a bit quicker, depending on what we're working on. The first one is I'm going to use shorten word gaps, and that's just going to take moments of silence and shorten them. So I can find all of the pieces of this video that are a certain amount of time. In this case, I'll choose 1 second, and I can shorten it down to any destination length as well. So I can say, okay, anything longer than 1 second, any gap, awkward pause, whatever it might be, I'm going to apply all. And I have these 5 gaps that were just shortened down here. And you can see that in our timeline. Quick one step. And then next one that I love to do, especially for unscripted stuff, well, semi-scripted stuff like this, you'll see as they get into the eating hot wings challenge here, removing filler words. So I'm still going that same menu, these stars up here, we call it the magic menu. And I can decide what filler words I want to remove, select all or some of these, usually do us, ums, you knows, repeated words. And here's where we can introduce maybe my favorite piece of Descript, my favorite feature is using this ignore feature, strike through. It's the exact same as delete. It'll delete the media from your video and in the script, but you're still going to see the word or words that were removed. So it'll just be struck through, skipped over in the audio and video, but you can see what you've removed and bring it back very easily if you need to. So I'm going to use ignore right here and apply to all. I'll get out of this and keep going.
About Hattie B's, a little bit about DoorDash, hopefully avoid some suffering with these pickles, and talk a little bit about.
Well, that's a good one. I can skim through and find some others.
Beautiful, crispy, crunchy, moist, tender,
Delicious.
Southern.
Here's one where I want to bring it back. So I just double click it, unignore it, remove that strike through, and it's back for me.
Crunchy, moist, tender, delicious, Southern fried chicken.
I mean, it just did it in that one part, right? Like it didn't get rid of all the strike throughs at that point, right?
Correct.
That's amazing. By the way, you know, we MoFilm shopped this for, as you know, like for our DoorDash client just recently, and it's so much fun to see it being edited this way. The one thing that we're always striving for is, you know, realism and authenticity. So I imagine with something like this, you know, maybe one or especially when someone's like mouth is on fire, like you might want to keep some of that. It's like, so tell me about, like, I mean, you got to make that creative judgment call after a while, I assume.
Yeah, editing style, output, all those considerations are huge. For me, a lot of unscripted stuff that I work on, I'm bringing back maybe 25% of filler words in this case, or repeated words, but that saves me 75% of manual editing those out if I want them to be cut, more concise. That's why that strikeout feature comes in so well, because I can just see those and skim through and find the ones that I want to bring back, quick audition it.
Just to keep it human, right? And
Yeah.
then real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, please.
she laughs a lot. They like lose their cool at certain points there, and she laugh like. Tell me about emotions as it relates to this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, again, editing style and your approach is going to be huge, and what this final output is going to be. But not only can we edit like a doc in the script and just remove stuff that's been transcribed, text-based editing, but we have an incredibly powerful timeline too. So as you're going through, and you can see we had a nice laugh that segued into this producer section, director section, and we might just be editing some of that out using the timeline, standard timeline tools that we have here, all non-destructive, obviously. Well, I say obviously, but there's some destructive tools out there. Non-destructive editing in the timeline and in the script. And
in the fridge we do think, yeah.
You can approach editing the same way. My favorite thing about the timeline is these word tabs. So I can get my timeline pretty tall if I'm into a lot of that work, and still make a lot of these editorial decisions by clicking and dragging these word tabs around. And what I mean by that,
yeah, so you know,
you can just click and remove some of that space and tighten up your edits this way.
yeah, so you know, the thing is, right, before we get to all this, yeah, so the thing is, right, before we get to all this spice, it also,
So you can visually see the space in between sections. You can click and drag the word tabs to pull that stuff around and adjust your timing and pacing. And you can also click and drag them to the right to give yourself a black frame, some space.
all this spice, it all,
And if you're wearing headphones, you might be hearing some of that, or maybe you're just hearing it generally. And that right there is, in this space, AI generated room tone from the signal of the microphone plopped in that you can use to make edits however you'd like. So if you're someone that's capturing a room tone in a space to patch up some edits and create some more natural pacing, we create that for you so you can use it how you want in your editorial decisions.
And that's from the actual space. It's actually picking it up, and that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's analyzing mic hiss, background noise, HVAC, whatever's going on in that space, and replicating it.
A jackhammer. What real quick, and then I promise I won't interrupt anymore, but like, how much you feel like knowing that if someone's going to edit in this as a filmmaker, how much do you change any of your style, any of your techniques, knowing that it's going to eventually wind up in here?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm getting my assembly and my rough cut together, meaning trusting myself, my ear and my eye, that I know what's going to work when I get into post-production, but I'm not creating real fine-tune edits and all of my jump cuts, L cuts, punch-ins. I'm probably going to save a lot of that. I'm really just cutting down this interview or this raw tape, this raw video, to get it to a point where I have all of my content, where it's going to go and where I want it to be. And then when I export out, I can make all of my post-production decisions later on. Another thing that I've, one of the biggest powers of Descript 2 is the people that I can include in the editing process now. I'm not the gatekeeper of Premiere making all my decisions in my box and then getting, sending out revisions over and over and getting notes back with, comments and timestamps and whatnot. I'm inviting people into this project, dropping their email in right here. So I'll add Mickey, and I can decide if Mickey is an editor, so can actually make editorial decisions, or just comment. And then Mickey can come in as a stakeholder and say, you know what, I'm going to select this section here and drop in a comment for Kevin, can tag me, tag anyone, and leave whatever feedback that might be helpful. That's an awesome first step. But I will say, for non-video editors, non-media editors, jumping into Descript is simple and easy. Being able to just, get into the doc and remove some stuff that you want to remove, move sections around, cut, copy, and paste, grabbing these sections, take all the audio and video with you. And myself, someone who's in more of a producer role, editor role, I might come in and clean up those a little bit before we go out to Premiere.
I could think of several clients. I'm looking at Tatiana here that would probably love that feature, like being able to just like get right in there with the editor. Yeah, that's
It's
pretty
like
wild.
a nice little sandbox for them too. You know, they don't have to be in Premiere. They don't have to download massive files and work in file management. It's all cloud synced and cloud-based tool. So yeah, you can all be in the same project at once too and see the edits or any decisions you're making.
And can they see if I want, I like that what they're saying there, but I want a different read. Like,
Mhm.
can I see another performance? Like tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a big case too, where you might have 3-4 takes of the same lines. And oftentimes we'll do is use the search feature up here. Instead of going for filler words, searching for filler words, we're going to just search for text. So if you have your script already written, whether it's in Descript or somewhere else, you can search the text and find all of the instances where they say that line. So you could comp stuff together, you could find the right take, clicking these auditions them.
Drive too.
I'm
So
excited.
we're gonna
So you can go through and find the ones that are right. But if I had 2-3
That
takes
was
in a
my
row,
favorite-
yeah, I'm just
That
gonna,
was my favorite read there. That here what you just
I'm excited.
drive too.
I'm
So
excited.
we're gonna
This must have been a fun shoot to work on.
It was very fun. So what is the output that when you export, it can be any quality, or is it just like in a sort of a MP4? Like what are the options that you have to upload to Premiere or
Yeah.
whatever editing tool that you have?
It's gonna be all your source media will be edited, will be brought out in your export. So if you're bringing in 4K files and separate audio, stereo audio, ambi, individual mics, if you're doing any multi-track recording and bringing multi-track in, which you can also do in Descript, it's all going to be brought out in the same format that it was brought in. So you'll export, you go up to publish and go to export and export your timeline and choose your tool. It's all non-destructive. So you'll get into Premiere or Pro Tools if you're working in audio only, whatever you're working on. And all of your edits are made just like you made them there. So you'll see all of your cut points that are extendable and collapsible. And you can kind of just continue your workflow from there like you started there from the get-go. Cool. I want to take a pause. I know we've got some reactions or maybe some questions in the chat. I haven't been able to follow, so I want to make sure we.
There's been one question in the chat so far, Kevin, around
Cool.
essentially how you can kind of augment the boundaries of the edits that Descript is automatically making around filler word removal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you were demonstrating kind of dragging the timeline in and out, I think that probably addressed that, but feel free to speak to it more if you'd like.
Yeah, we have some heavy hitter editors here, so we'll get into the timeline a little bit more. So
yeah. So the thing is, right?
Hovering over an edit point, just like in your NLE, you can extend and collapse the edits. So to tighten those up or to pull back the curtain.
Yeah. So, the thing is, right, before we
and bring out stuff back as you need. If a little bit of a jumpy edit going on, or you just don't want to worry about cleaning it up at the moment, you can crossfade sections quickly.
the thing is,
With any of that out, which is not really happening there because there's not an actual edit.
so the thing is, right, before
And I'll fade in your canvas up here. There's tons of music and, kind of like score work if you're doing any kind of scoring, music tracks. So I can bring this stuff in. Let me get my library open here. Where did my, how did I lose my toolbar? Oh, this is a Mac OS workshop now. So if you're pulling in music from a music library, you can just drag and drop in from your computer, attach that wherever you want. You can, using Alt or Command, do any keyframing to automate music, duck stuff down. So much to do there that all come out in your exports.
Actually, Kevin.
Yeah.
Could insert here, question that's like related to ducking, not the same, but a little bit related. Someone's asking around when two people are speaking over each other and you want to be able to isolate those different elements. How could you handle that? And could you kind of isolate the different speakers separately?
Yeah. In this media, no, I assume we have a overhead shotgun mic. So it's every sound in that space is getting captured by one mic. So there's not much you can do there in any tool. But if you were recording, you had one mic per speaker or anything like that, you'd have full control. So you can create a new project. And I'll bring in some multi-track. So this is 3 folks in an interview. I can drag and drop these in together. And this is remote work, so it's a little bit different than a live shoot, but same process. I can add my speaker labels. And under the hood, in the background, I'm going to have a multi-track view with each of these files separated out into this multi-track sequence. So then I could, if there's, Ryan's dog is barking in the background at the same time, or there's crosstalk or whatever it might be, I have 3 separate files all synced together under the hood. So I can make any decisions in a multi-track fashion. But back in our composition here, we call it our version of a doc. We have our timeline, canvas, and script when that's done transcribing. So we're making edits to like a reference of those original files, which is sweet. So like that. It's also just a super powerful repurposing or social tool. Pulling out sections, you can copy sections of a video to different documents, different compositions. I can work, pretty extensively in the canvas.
Bag of Hollywood.
There's a ton of templates up here that you can create, customized templates, or choose from our gallery. We have millions of files in a stock media library. So whether you're working on your main content that it's just your edit and assembly to get out to Premiere, or you've finished something and you want to bring that back in and repurpose it, chop it all up, do any social work or anything like that, we make it super easy.
Are those images royalty free, or do you have to figure out the rights manage? Like, do you have to work with somebody to secure the rights for them?
Yeah, Mickey, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that spent a lot of time on that. So I'm happy to answer that question.
We can go offline if that's better, but yeah, maybe a short answer.
No, happy to. So we have a couple of different providers, and our core provider, which provides all of our video and our sound effects and our music, is fully licensed for commercial use and is royalty free. No other action is needed by the users. It's all licensed by Descript on behalf of our users for any kind of use. For our GIFs, we use Giphy, and those are not licensed for commercial use, but almost everything else is. Yeah.
Thank you.
How about this breakdown for images, Mickey, for photos, illustrations, and Unsplash?
Yes. So Unsplash is the only one, which is a bit of a gray area. Their terms list them as mostly listed for commercial use. And so I'd recommend that if you're doing something kind of heavy hitting that is for commercial use, I'd recommend not using Unsplash just because they have a bit of a gray area there as well. But everything that's just labeled as generic audio, video, music, sound effects is fully licensed.
Cool.
We've got another question here, Kevin, around exporting a final edit text file by speaker.
Ooh, not by speaker. Not by speaker.
Though.
Yeah. It's a great request. Go to feedback.descript.com and I'm pretty sure that feature request exists and you can vote on it and it'll pop it up in our queue. I've heard that a bunch, so I think we should put that out.
I will.
Personally.
I'll drop that link in the chat. But we can export a script not by speaker, right? We can export our full transcript either as a document or as SRT or VTT files.
That's right. obviously we have this transcript, so exporting transcript and with tons of formatting options, time code, all here for you. And subtitles, like Mickey said, SRT VTT. Cool. I'm gonna show off a couple other things if we're going here. How are we doing on
Let's
time,
do it.
Tatiana?
We're doing great. It's 12:30. I think you can continue going for another maybe 10 minutes. And then
Cool.
if there's any outstanding questions, we can cover them at the very end.
Cool, awesome. So we've kind of covered a lot of the first, like, choice A workflow. I think a lot of you will be using Descript, that edit, rough cut, assembly. Here's 2 or 3 things I think will help you out in that process. Then we'll also talk about some of the repurposing if you end up getting to that. So one is just correcting our transcript. Double clicking a word or selecting a sentence or phrase, and you click correct. And you can make that correction. It's just going to reflect in the text. Not going to change the audio or video in any way. You can also do a lot of highlighting. And this is kind of a cross function where it's going to be helpful for these workflows as well, for sure. You can highlight in a bunch of different colors, flag sections, whatever it might be. But what's very cool here, if we're talking about a repurposing game, is going back into that magic menu and choosing copy highlights. So I can copy individual highlights or all of them to my clipboard. So I'll do all of them. I can create a new doc, new composition, and just paste those in, and it brings along just the highlighted sections.